Hello and welcome back to the channel for another college TF review. Today I'm super excited to be presenting the APC Toys Knight Countess, also known as a Transformers Prime Airachnid. Super awesome figure, really excited to have these Transformers Prime figures coming back out from these third-party companies, especially APC Toys. They've been known to be doing it the most recently. You can get yours over at Shows You Store, she's available over there now. And this is definitely a really awesome figure. This is a brand new mold by APC Toys, not actually at all really based on the original toy that came out for Robots in Disguise. It's a completely new mold, which is really awesome to see. And overall, I think it is pretty well done. But before we get into the figure herself, let's take a look at the box. Some pretty neat artwork there, just displaying Airachnid in the forest scene when we first meet her. I always found that episode to be really creepy when I first saw it. I remember being completely freaked out by it, by Arachnid's character, because the first time we see RC really being frightened, or any of the Autobots for that matter. So that was quite a scary episode, still spooks me out today, but I think this figure really does do an excellent job of capturing that spooky aspect, as does this box. She does come with instructions, but they are quite complicated, very similar to those first edition instructions that came with the first edition Prime figures. Move this box out of the way, go. And there is Arachnid in her full glory. APC Toys did an amazing job with the paint apps on this figure. I'll bring her in for a closer look. Of course, the Decepticon emblem I'd applied myself, which Shows You Store does often provide you with those decals, which is really nice. So there is the face sculpt, and I think that looks tremendous. The purple in the eyes, the extra gold highlights, the purple mouth, very well done. And we have this gold trim throughout, which is really excellent. Attention to detail here. So we have the waist section, very nice, the pink highlights, and again some more gold trim as we go down to the legs. The blue, very cartoon accurate paint scheme. I got some more pink on the arms there, and the way all these panels situate to make her a very slender design, as with all those Transformers Prime characters, I think is really well done. She certainly looks like she jumped straight out of the animation. Very neat. In terms of articulation with this figure, we get a great deal of range at the head, largely due to transformation, because she actually does have 3 modes technically in total, 2 different alt modes, and so this can look up to a great degree on that ball joint, and she can look down pretty far too, so when she's terrorizing Jack in the Forest, you certainly could recreate those scenes. Of course, you get side to side, and not really much tilt on either direction. Then the shoulder articulation is a bit limited due to how these panels align, but if you just move everything out of the way, you probably can get about that far out to the side. You can get back probably about to there. So a little bit limited here, the shoulder, just due to how the joints sit, and you probably inevitably will undo this transformation joint there. It is not super tight. But overall, for the poses that you'll probably want to put her in, not too bad. Then at the elbow, we actually do technically get a double joint here due to transformation, so that's a great degree of motion that you could exploit. And we do get somewhat of a, you can't really quite pivot this section, unfortunately, but the wrist does swivel, which is nice to see. Very tight, but very nice. They did include that, and it does move up and down a little bit on that ball joint as well. Then in terms of, she doesn't have any waist articulation, but you can use this transformation joint as both an ab crunch, which is really nice to see, and you can almost use that as like a waist joint to pivot side to side. So that is very nice joint there in the torso. It definitely aids in her articulation. Then these side skirts can be moved out of the way to allow for the legs to hinge forward to almost to 90 there, and then she can kick back pretty far, and then we get really great degree of range out of the legs here. Of course, I have all the her spider legs here, move those out of the way, so we can get about to 90 there at the leg, which is fantastic. And then we do get some motion here in the back of the foot, but no ankle rock or anything, which is a little sad to see given that this is a completely new mold. They didn't have to stick with the trend of all the Transformers Prime first edition characters, which did not have any ankle rock, but she is still plenty sturdy in trying to pose. Then, of course, this does actually come with all of her legs for the spider leg transformation, and you could just use them in this mode. And so there are 2 points of articulation on each leg, that being up here, so you can go up to a pretty great degree and down, and then you also get this bend here too, which is a little bit more stiff, and that is very useful, as we'll see in her spider alt mode. And then each one is also individually articulated on these pin joints here, which are definitely very stiff, but that is a good thing. So I'll showcase shortly. So you can splay those out however you want. Of course, turn these around forward and have her praying down on some Autobots or Decepticons. So you could either have them hinged out to the side like that, or stowed up in back when she's in robot mode. Then we also do get included another set of legs, and these are more for her helicopter alt mode, but these just tab on to the back right in the center, and you could use these too as well, and you actually don't have to remove them during transformation. So if you wanted to give her helicopter legs, you could. Personally, I like to have the 6 legs on in robot and her other alt mode, so I tend to stick with those for this mode. And then just showing how those attach, there are slots on each side here on her back, so that's where the rotor goes, and that center leg section, so we'll bring it back out for transformation. And these slots here are where these legs go in. There's just a pin at the base of the tri-joint here, which can be a little bit tricky to attach sometimes just due to the nature of plastic, but it does peg in very securely. Let's get it in there. So that is Arachnid in her robot mode. I think she definitely looks apart from the Transformers Prime series. Bringing in some other figures for comparison here, we have, of course, the APC Toys Dark Master. I actually just picked up recently, so I'll have to do a review of him shortly too. Definitely a large figure, so there's the scaling. I think they definitely look just straight out of the cartoon. Their paint is perfect for both of them, and I think the scaling is definitely very reminiscent of what we see in the cartoon. Megatron definitely towers over just about all of the other Autobots and Decepticons. And here, of course, we have her archenemy, RC, and I think those two definitely look perfect together. Arachnid definitely did look a little bit taller in the cartoon than RC, so I think this looks fantastic. And this is the first edition Transformers Prime RC, which APC Toys has also done a re-release of this mold as well. So turning to her first transformation, that being the spider configuration, you can leave these legs on, but I find it much easier to just pull them off for this, just so they're not in the way. And so this transformation is overall pretty straightforward, not much to it, and honestly the instructions are not that clear, so it's pretty much up to your own preference how you do this. But so really all you're going to do is transform the legs, and you want to start out by separating. You just kind of want to pull forward on the back of the leg, and you're going to separate it from that inner joint there like that, and then just bring it forward, and you'll want to just kind of angle everything up, and you kind of want to make sure that her thighs are straight here for the best look. And I do like to collapse the toes down too. Repeat that on the other side. Collapse those toes in, and then we just want to bring the legs together here, and there is a tab in back on the tail section here. This is the tail of the helicopter. Just want to tab those together. nice and secure. And make sure those rest flat, and angle the feet, just match everything on each side. And then we just want to bring these skirt pieces kind of over the top here, as the instructions show. And then of course you can bring her head forward and bring her arms forward as well. And then we bring in these spider legs, and it's easier definitely to separate them now. So just kind of want to splay them out so that she can stand up, and tab them in to each side, just like we did in robot mode. No change there. Go for the other one as well. Just splay these out. That, and tab them in to the other side here. And then for the best stability, I actually do recommend angling these backwards a little bit so that these inner legs are almost touching, like that. And then now it's just a matter of aligning all the legs to get her to balance, which she does, which is impressive, definitely. And even that was actually pretty quick. That was much less effort than previous attempts. So there is Arachnid in her spider mode, which is definitely really awesome. One of her more creepy aspects from the cartoon. And of course in this mode, you still do get a pretty good range of articulation out of the head, because nothing's changed there. Then the legs have all the articulation, and as do the hands still have all their articulation. So pretty awesome that she can stand on those legs. And then just here's RC for size comparison again. I think that is pretty accurate to what we see in the cartoon, definitely. So now on to her primary alt mode, that being the helicopter. Just want to remove these legs from her back, set those off to the side. And then we actually are gonna undo this section of the transformation that we did here. We actually want to straighten the legs back out, so that collapsing is truly just for the spider mode, which is a pretty neat feature that APC Toys incorporated, and they definitely did not have to in this release, so pretty nice to see that. Now for the arms here, we actually want to straighten the head back out, and then we want to bring the arms, and this is where we'll use that double joint and transformation. And we just want to tuck the hand on the inside of the arms like that, and repeat the same thing on this side. So just bring all this so that it tucks underneath hands. And we do also, when we do this, we also unlock the joint in the shoulder for this piece. It does actually sort of click into place in robot mode. So like that, each side. And then we want to open up these flaps on the backpack here. And I just go ahead and spin it all around now. Leave the skirt pieces out of the way. And then we want to detach this back section. And we're going to rotate everything around. So now her head's facing the back. I want to detach the arms here. There's just these two little pegs on the side of her collarbone, essentially, that attach into the shoulders, which honestly I wish that was a little bit more robust than it is, but it definitely does the trick. Now we're just gonna fold this whole section inside. So it's just a joint on the inside here of her torso. That's what kind of gives her the ab crunch. Just fold that all in, and we start kind of compressing the helicopter. Then we also want to pull out this tab in here. Actually do that before flipping all this around. It's probably easier. There's this little flap on the inside here. Just want to pull out. It's very stiff. All the joints on this figure are very stiff, which is definitely a nice feature, but can be a little bit cumbersome. And I will say the overall plastic quality on this figure is definitely not quite as great as on APC Toys' previous releases. It definitely feels a little bit cheaper, and it's very thin. I think that's largely actually due to design purposes in order to get her to have the very sleek robot mode, but you definitely want to take your time with this particular model, as it does require some patience. So now we just kind of want to get that whole nose cone section lined up here with her abdominal section, which is now at the bottom of the helicopter. And then we get tabs here on the insides of the shoulder pads. So there's a tab here, and then we also get one on the lower arm, and there's a slot on the side of the helicopter there, and a slot in the nose cone. So not this very front one, the one just behind. And we'll want to just tab everything in on both sides. I do especially find these back tabs to be a bit thinner than I would like. Could see them potentially degrading over time. But everything does tab in very securely. Nice snaps. And then we just want to fold these panels down on the sides, and now we can bring up all of the side panels, and now we start aligning everything. So we want to bring the legs up, and then we get a hole here, which will align with a tab here on the leg. And then we also want to, we actually need to untab the legs, and there are pegs here on the sides of this back piece that go into slots on the top of the legs here. So we actually do need to undo that joint from the spider mode. So just tab those in on each side. And this does help solidify helicopter mode even more, which is very solid once complete, which is pretty nice. So now that we have the legs set up, now we can fold those top pieces down and bring in kind of like the skirt pieces from robot mode. And those just snap in on each side, like that. And then just make sure everything is lined up, as you would like. Side, looks pretty good. So this is the overall helicopter mode. So now for the rotors, that's what the 3 limbs are for. So for these, what you want to do is straighten out each limb and then rotate it, and we get a tab here on the underside that goes into a slot on this section. And just repeat that for all 3. And there we have the rotor blade section, and then this is on a spinning joint, which is a bit inconvenient for robot mode as there is no way to tab it in so it's secure, but definitely does the trick in helicopter mode. And so here we have APC Toys Night Countess, otherwise known as a Transformers Prime Airachnid, all transformed into her air helicopter mode, where her name comes from. And this definitely looks really, really great. Looks straight out of the cartoon, has those very clean, almost stealth helicopter look to it. Very, very neat design. I always thought her helicopter mode was very awesome. Again, this Subticon insignia, those separate decal that you can get from Shozy store. So she does fold up pretty nicely. You can see her head there, but honestly, I don't think that's a big deal breaker, especially given how sleek this helicopter mode looks overall. And she does compact really, really tightly. So just to bring in RC again here, don't have her in her vehicle mode, but just in terms of a size comparison, she definitely does compact very, very well, which is very much what we see in the cartoon. So overall, I definitely think this release from APC Toys is very, very awesome for Transformers Prime fans. Finally getting like a real first edition style Airachnid to add to the collection is pretty awesome. Now I will say there is no way to store any of the legs in the helicopter mode, and then similarly in the robot or spider mode, you can't really tab this rotor section on either, so there's no good storage there for anything. But honestly, the fact that they included all these extra legs is, I think, a really awesome touch, and definitely warrants having them too without any way to port them on, as I don't really see how there would be a way to compress them easily. The only thing I would say about this release is the plastic definitely feels a bit thinner than something like the Megatron, because the plastic on this guy is very robust and the overall is very hefty figure. Definitely feels like that first edition kind of quality, but the plastic on this is overall just a lot thinner than that on previous releases, and definitely I would say the conversion from helicopter back to robot mode can be a bit difficult just in terms of making sure you're using enough care to not apply any stress marks to mainly these tabs on the backs of the arms here that tab into the side, and they're definitely really tight. So just use caution, but I definitely think this release is worth the pickup. So remember to get yours over at Chizzy's store. Check out the link in the description. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.